Welcome to another DragonLance Saga Professionals episode. My name is Adam, and today I'm talking with DragonLance artist Philipp A. Urlich. You can find him on social media and Patreon. He also has a website where you can buy prints. And before we begin the conversation, I'd like to take a moment and thank the members of this YouTube channel and invite you to consider becoming a member by visiting the links in the description below. You can even pick up DragonLance gaming materials using my affiliate link. Philipp, thank you so much for joining me. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
Fantastic. Okay, so yesterday the internet sort of went
Yes.
crazy over Dragonlance, right?
Yeah, it was a
So
crazy day.
there was this huge announcement about, confirming what people had already suspected and was already leaked out there, but about Dragons of
Yeah,
Deceit, I think it is. And
yeah.
you were fortunate enough to have painted the cover of the next Dragonlance novel. And so as soon as I could, I reached out to you, and I'm so happy that you were gracious enough to give me a little bit of your time to talk with you today about that. But before we start talking about Dragonlance specific, I started going down this rabbit hole of looking at your work online, and you are an incredibly talented artist. So let's talk a little bit about your art. When did you first get into painting, digital or traditional?
Right. Yeah, thank you very much, and appreciate for having me. So yeah, I always drew as a kid, when I was 5, 6 year old, and I think I remember I was getting interested in like drawing when I saw a friend of my parents draw some airplanes with pencils. And it's really fascinating. Like, how can you like draw something on paper simply with pencil and looks like real, like some shading and the shape. And it was like for me the first time like seeing someone doing something like this in real. And from there, I always wanted to draw like figures and faces and stuff like this. And my mother was also a big inspiration. She always was painting stuff, more like traditional ornamental art, stuff like this. And she made a remote course from school in England, and she had this books from illustrators, like, I don't know, some kind of assignments or lectures in this book. And I was really fascinated by these charcoal drawings and stuff. And then I always liked drawing and scribbling, and in school I knew I could maybe get well with drawing, and always received a good response from friends or from teachers, and I knew I had some talent, could do something with it. And I remember like asking my mother, still remember it very vividly, like stepping into the kitchen and asking like, what can I do with this, like drawing? And she was like, I don't know, like maybe graphic designer. So after school, like 15, 16, I went to it's like a 1 year pre-course for designers, for creatives,
Yeah.
in preparation for a career as a graphic designer or fashion designer or whatever. And this was really like learning about art and art history and doing all kind of different stuff, different medias. And there was no really digital at the time. It was 91. So but this was really a big thing for me, like this year, just painting and drawing and learning about this stuff.
Yeah.
And I took the route to make graphic study. Started after that. I started studying graphic design, and but I then found out like it's not really my thing. Like it's more going into advertisement and this kind of stuff. But I learned all this stuff about design and composition and different tools and yeah, this was the time where it started like partially doing stuff on computer, so using Photoshop and but it was just another tool and wasn't used that much at that time. And then yeah, and from there I didn't finish school and wasn't really sure at the point what to do with my life, and I always felt like I'm kind of good with drawing. I didn't really paint that much. I did some paintings, acrylic and stuff.
Right.
I tried out oil and but I always felt like I'm not good with colors and this is all so hard, and kind of drifted more into like making also musician
Oh,
with friends. I lived together with friends in a house and we made music, and it was kind of different area, different, how do you say, phase of my life where like then I tried again like getting into something like creative with graphic designer and bought a Macintosh,
oh yeah.
Power Macintosh, and of course I was also interested in gaming and programming, which is also creative, like
Hmm.
programming stuff. Was fascinated by that and learned as soon as the internet came up, I learned programming websites, which then at the time I wasn't really drawing anymore. I was doing stuff more like 3D and for games and stuff like mods and level designs, and fascinated by that. And then so from like 20 to when did I start? Like with 3 years ago in February, it's 3 years ago, where I started again, like painting and digitally. I
Really?
tried like 10 years ago, 11 years ago, or is
Hmm.
it now? It's 12 years ago. It doesn't matter.
Time flies.
I still have this video. I did some time lapse recordings of some drawings I did on an old Intuos tablet. Still, it was a really old one, and it still worked. But then I bought a new one, Intuos Pro,
Hmm.
and slowly, yeah, this was 3 years ago. I just always had this in the back of my head and was fascinated by other illustrators and artists, and already had the foundation and everything and basics. Like just one day I sat down in the evening and started painting, and that's where all my paintings you see in my portfolio. It's
Hmm.
like all in these 3 years, and yeah, I have a day job, so it's mostly was in the evening
That's
painting. And
that's incredible. It's not even your day job.
no, it's just and I just started like doing a lot of quick work. The first ones was like for a week or two, and kind of struggling with the tool and or try to get comfortable with it, and also practicing colors and studying artists, old artists. So I think big influences are, I wasn't really into fantasy that much, but I was fascinated by Lord of the Rings and stuff like that.
Right.
And I must be honest, like Dragonlance, I didn't really know much about it.
Hmm.
So but I think, yeah, influences are like the old, uh, like Hudson River School, the old romantic landscape painters like Bierstadt, Cole, Church, but also many Russian landscape painters really fascinate me. like the
That's great.
Shishkin, and always fascinated by light and anything about art, like the whole thing behind different styles and fantasy art. Fantasy art is
Yeah.
like Tappa, Frank. I really, really love his work. Like, and also the John Howe and Alan Lee, like illustrators from Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. That's great. So let me ask you really quick then, because this isn't your professional gig, though you are clearly a professional artist. I mean, you certainly have the artist's eye, and you're able to realize that digitally. And just as a side note, watching your process paintings from nothing
Mm-hmm.
to the fully realized painting is just mesmerizing on what you're doing with that. But how did you get the opportunity, or how were you first introduced to Dragonlance, and that there was a book cover that needed to be done?
Uh, yeah, there was I just received an email one day. It's not even long ago. It's like 2 months ago,
Oh
two and a
wow,
half months, and was from a guy from Penguin Random House,
yeah,
the publisher, like uh, David Stevenson's. I think he's a art director, senior art director there. He reached out to me and just asking if I'm interested in doing a book cover for Dragonlance. There's a new. Just briefly mention what it's about,
hmm
and I kind of was like, oh, okay, let me look into it, and I thought like, wow, yeah, this would be great opportunity for me to do something, and I just made some research first, and
yeah,
yeah, then I just agreed, and it was just the usual process, and I always just in contact with him. So and he mentioned like this was on behalf of like Wizards of the Coast and the authors,
hmm
Margaret and Tracy, and yeah, and then I was like, in the back of my head was like, okay, why me? But this was like the first thing, like, okay, this seems to be a big thing, and I felt really honored to be able to do this, and but I still don't know. I don't remember. I haven't asked him why me or how did he. I think he just like mentioned what he had, what the idea was, and then he had some ideas about the cover, how it should be, or how he wants to be, and
Right.
that's more like have a nice landscape and with this golden light. And I don't know. I think he saw my work on ArtStation,
hmm
and then he reached out to me, and
That's great.
I
Well, let
was
let me show everyone here. Oh, hold on, I gotta refresh this. I'm gonna have your work showing in the background for the remainder of our conversation, because I do want people to see
yeah,
um, the caliber of work that you're putting out there. I just chose some that sort of struck my eye. This may
yeah.
not be some of your particular favorites, but I think these are fantastic,
Had
and it's
some
just gonna
older work.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's just going to sort of cycle in the background. Let me give a quick shout out to the people in chat. Oguz, thank you so much for becoming a Dragon High Lord. Welcome. Canadian Fantasy Corner, thanks for joining live. Really appreciate you. And Gold Moon, always great to see you. Anyone else, if you have a question or a comment about Philip's work or the process or really anything, go ahead and throw it up there in chat, and we can have a conversation about it, and we'll include your comments as well. So I've always been fascinated with how much information you as an artist are presented, because clearly the publisher must have some idea of what they expect on the cover. So what kind of information were you given in order to create the piece of work that I will end up showing the actual cover here, but I wanted to show some of your other artwork as well.
Yeah,
How much information are you actually given before you start working?
not a lot. Quite sparingly. Like the first emails, 1, 2 emails, like when I agreed, like, yeah, I'm interested, and he also mentioned that he showed wizards and authors like my work, and he mentioned like they were kind of worried about like my work for characters and stuff because I'm more focused on landscape.
Mm-hmm.
And he showed some work of me, and they were like, okay. And I also told him like, okay, yeah, I'm not really. I mean, at least for the moment, in my phase now, these 2, 3 years, focus on landscapes and colors and getting better. And then the briefing was, or he mentioned just like, yeah, there's some character in the foreground and a copper dragon, and the landscape behind it with a tree where Solace is, and some kind of story element or some from the universe of Dragonlance.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. Maybe he mentioned like what he visualized, like some sunset, some golden lightning, and I agreed. And then the next was like getting the briefing from the authors, and I think he was sort of a middleman. I never had contact with wizards or the authors.
Right.
And the briefing that came was just briefly like they mentioned like 6 characters plus the dragon. And was all the characters like Tess, and I think I don't remember the names. I could look them.
That's okay.
Like 6 characters suddenly. It was like mentioned like there's 2 characters or something like in the front.
Right.
And then suddenly it was 6 characters and
And you're
a
like, whoa.
brief like sorry?
I was just like, 6 characters on the front of a cover is a lot.
Yeah, yeah. And then like just briefly mention like who they are and stuff like this, and then background was always this lake. I don't know how it's called. Chaos Lake. And this tree with the village on it, and then I was like, I told him like, what 6 characters? That's quite a lot, and it changed a lot. Like I had already, you always as an artist start visualizing or have an idea. Like if you hear what should be on there, and then suddenly it was 6 characters, and just also the amount of work and gets kind of crumbled on the front cover and really difficult to. And then I made some sketches and just to show like that it's not a good idea, I think. And then he also agreed. And then it was a long time, like almost 4 weeks waiting for the first feedback.
Oh, wow.
And it was kind of, and then they agreed, and somehow I don't know what they discussed in the back between each other, and I think they agreed later. I already had like 2 rounds of sketching. They agreed on like having 3 characters, like this Tess and her Destina, the main character, and Wolfstone, a dwarf, and plus the dragon. And background was never really an issue. It was just nailing the fixing like what they want on the front cover.
Right. That's really stunning to me because there's a history of Dragonlance novels having 2 to 3 characters and a creature on a
Mm-hmm.
background. So that it's weird that they would try to force in so much more, when there is a tradition, an established sort of rule set for these types of books. So when you were given this assignment, did you look back to some of the previous artists' covers to sort of get inspiration, or did you just sort of say, "Look, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to focus and make it my own"?
I know both.
Yeah.
Of course, I was looking into like what it's about and the old covers. I didn't really know much about it, and it was kind of, yeah, as a base, and knowing what was previously done and for these covers, and kind of sort of inspiration, or okay, it was like this, and but then I tried to not to like continue like exactly the same style or something like this.
Right.
It was then more how I imagine this, and then kind of bringing my style. After all it's why they came to me, or why he came to me for my
Exactly.
painting style. But I always felt like, am I really ready for this? And I'm kind of stepping into this as a new unknown illustrator with these big names, and this established, well-known illustrations from the series.
Yeah.
And I don't know really much about or anything about what the decision was or how it came to be. And that was always a bit. I just tried to focus on my own, but always looked for reference, or looked at the old illustrations, but never tried to like copy it. And yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that's, first of all, I have to say, congratulations on being given the opportunity and then actually stepping up to the plate because, as you mentioned, some of the
I hope
other
I
artists.
did. I'm not sure still.
Well,
I'm so I was self-critic, and
yeah.
I had really almost a meltdown, and really
Oh, no.
like was struggling with the work, because at some point, I was like looking at it, and it was a lot different than it was now, and I didn't really have someone helping me or saying like, maybe let's do this, try this, but and also because of the changes the authors had, it was like 3 or 4 iterations, like, and suddenly he had long hair before, it was short hair, and the head, leather head, and then he
Oh,
had
wow.
no head, and then long hairs, and the beard was it's like always like when I did something and showed him, like, ah, no, not like this, like this. And I was kind of struggling with this and felt uncomfortable at some point, like unsure. Everything I do is they don't like, and they kind of pushed into a direction they wanted to.
Hmm.
Because also the arrangement and the poses of the characters was a lot different. What I proposed, and then the others felt like, no, they don't want to have like this. They want them standing and looking at the camera,
Right. Yeah.
which
Again,
I felt kind of okay. And as an illustrator for this kind of work, you just have to do what they want, because they they pay you for this, and
for sure.
I don't know.
I mean, professionally, I'm an art director, graphic designer. So ultimately, I
Yeah,
understand completely when a client comes up and changes your original vision, or maybe even the vision that they agreed to, for the first time. You're like, I don't want to do this, but they're paying me. It's their, ultimately, I'm doing it for them. You have to make concessions and sort of sometimes bite the bullet and just do what they
just
want.
try to do the best out of it,
Exactly.
and just try to do my best. But I felt at some point like, I don't know. I'm also not that much experience, as I said. Like, I'm not a professional. I don't have like years and years of experience, and I've done a couple commission work also for Dungeons and Dragons. Like I've done 3 covers,
Nice.
and yeah, but it was a good experience anyway.
Yeah. Well, one thing that, again, is sort of a precedent that has been set, and I'm hoping that they continue on, for your sake, if you're willing, but they usually have the same artist do all of the covers in a trilogy, in a collection of
Yeah,
books. Is
yeah,
that something that you're expecting or looking forward to?
yeah. I was thinking about that, and surely it's a big thing for me and my career. I just realized, like, or I don't even realize now, but maybe. And also for, yeah, will they come back? Will they make the other 2 books with me?
Mm-hmm.
And I still don't know. And
Would you be willing to do it?
of course, yeah,
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
I'm ready. And
Go ahead,
I'm
Peg. The
also
team's
have
ready.
to say I don't know the current state of the current book cover, the artwork.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of a tight deadline,
Yeah.
especially because I don't work at full time. I had to work in the evening or weekends only, and they took so long for feedback, so it was kind of took a bit longer. But at the end, I don't know if I can say this, like uh, Wizards was like, okay, we're not looking at it. The others had to, they're doing this okay, and they know what they're doing. But at the end, when it was finished, some at Wizards looked at it, and he figured like the dragon isn't 5e Dungeons and Dragons conform.
Oh man.
After it's done, it was like, I don't know, 5, 6 iterations until the finished one, and they had the chance to look at it. And the dragon didn't really change from the first sketch. I mean, yeah, and so I don't know. Currently, and 20 minutes before reveal, they reached out and they had like emails back and forth, like you can't reveal it like this, and there will be fans noticing it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, I have to confess, I'm not really into Dungeons and Dragons and
Yeah.
that much. I played some. A good friend of mine is really a nerd on this stuff, and so I know a bit about it and know how it's like all these types of characters and all these different types of dragons have special design or proposed designs that are known.
Yeah.
And it's just about the spikes, and the horns and stuff like this. And but I wish they told me like more. Hey, watch out! You have to design the dragon and send me references, And
That would
but
make it a lot easier if they would have like sent
Alicia,
you a
yeah, but
series of
I
images.
also I thought at some point when I already like was almost finished, I painted the dragon at the end again, and then I was like thinking about this and looked up some copper dragon form and stumbled up on this Dungeon and Dragon 5e copper dragon proposed design.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, it looks a bit different, but I I have no problem, just as a note, maybe it will change. I still have time. It's in August.
Yeah.
It will be really. So maybe uh, I will have to redo some parts of the dragon.
It would be
Uh,
interesting if they continue to change it now that they've actually released it as a cover. That seems it
yeah,
it doesn't seem
I
like
don't
they would
know.
at this point.
I have no information. I'm
Yeah.
completely left out of this conversation. He just, the art director mentioned, uh, yeah.
Well, I do like that they came to you because of your influences and because of the style that you focus on landscapes primarily, although you do a really good job on detailing out creatures, especially like just what we're looking at right now. The ring wraith and
Thank you.
stuff. But the focus on landscapes in Dragonlance has always been a pretty important thing. I mean, you got the
Yeah,
Inn of the Last Home and the tree in Solace. I don't know if that's Crystalmire Lake next to it, but it's certainly gorgeous, and I'm going to show it here. But
yeah,
your focus and your attention to detail on light and shadow is just brilliant, and I think that's what pushes your work forward, in a classical fantasy way rather than a traditional, more poppy style. And I think
yeah.
that fits perfectly with Dragonlance, and it is a slightly different take on what we've gotten in the past with Dragonlance, and so I think that's interesting too. I do want to give a quick comment here. Goldmoon says your landscapes make her think of Magic the Gathering cards, and she digs it. Canadian Fantasy Corner says your gold dragon art on your site has some Oriental inspiration. Where did it come from for that image? He thinks it's amazing.
Gold Dragon. Also,
There's like a yellow dragon on your website.
yeah, that was for a cover I did recently, and the preview was just a golden dragon in a valley, lush valley, and this is from a third party campaign, a Dungeon and Dragon campaign book.
Mm-hmm.
I did like 8 or 9 illustrations for this guy, and it was is a father who's doing this with his son, and the son more or less did the writing and the story, and he helped him. It's kind of sad story because his father died a month ago.
Oh, that's
And
terrible.
I did this so this illustration is really something special for me
Mm-hmm.
because it was the last commission the father Darren he gave me,
Wow.
and he didn't even see it finished. So today I sent the almost finished painting cover for him to see. Like her wife sent me the sad message, and really sad.
Yeah.
And also applied to magic wizards. Yeah, I would love to do some cards.
Yeah.
I haven't heard back, but I guess it's just a matter of like they have so many artists and so many good artists, and but chances are maybe in future I can do some cards. But anyway, this Dragonlance cover is for me at the moment is good enough. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
also in behalf of Wizard, so
Yeah. Let's look at that. Let me refresh it so it's not stretched. Um, so what we're looking at now is the cover of the novel that you well, it was just announced yesterday.
yeah.
And we see the Copper Dragon. We've got Tasselhoff and Destina and um, I don't know the name of the character.
Wolfstone.
Wolfstone. And then in the background, we're
Wolfstone
seeing
is
just this beautiful, beautiful. I don't know if it's a sunrise or a sunset, but it looks stunning. When you were composing this, did they say, "Hey, we need like a quarter or a half of the top of it available for our titles and our lettering and stuff?" And I mean, was there a grid they gave you, or was it just sort of freeform?
he gave me the dimensions, and since it's a jacket, there's the back of the cover like is I don't know 1 inch,
Right.
and in the center, and this was just given, and so it's spawning from front to back.
Right.
And when I started sketching, I then asked for like what will be what logo, and where is this, will this be positioned more or less, and he gave me the current design. I think it hasn't changed much on just he made the font white because in the sketch it was black. But and the back of the cover I still don't know. I think they're still working on the copy. So
Yeah.
and I just tried to not have too much on it and then not too much somewhere, I don't know, details that would matter too much if they're then hidden.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was kind of nervous and then worried about like, after all, it was more like what is on the front, and what given was he gave me like the idea, basic idea that there's this kind of golden lightning, sun in the back with this lake and the tree with the I don't know how it's called, the house, the inn
Yeah.
in
Immortalized
front,
home. Yeah.
and the city on the tree. And the idea was like we could make it so like it's seen on the front a bit, but spawns to the back. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and the cover on the right side, which is the front cover, I was more or less free to and had to like come up with a composition or arrangement that could work. And I had the dragon more or less standing behind a bit higher up and with his wings open.
Oh
It
yeah.
was the first, and like reaching out with his hand, and I really liked it, but they didn't buy it. So I had, and there was like they were always pushing into something like the art director and the authors. So and you just try to do the best out of it.
Yeah.
It's pretty much, and at the end, I mean, I have a lot of freedom, but still, I mean, it's not a bad thing, and have a certain frame and restrictions is always kind of a good thing also. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, certainly in my industry, I prefer knowing what restrictions there are so that I can create something within that in order to speak
yeah,
to, the project. If it's just like carte blanche, like do whatever you want, it's just like, I don't
it's
know. It's too much.
you're doomed. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
So
never a good idea. Yeah.
welcome to the chat, Hero. Thanks for tuning in live. He's asking, has he been commissioned for the trilogy or be doing reprints from any of the previous trilogy? He loves your style. Um, again, I don't think you haven't been told whether or not you're going to be involved in the other two novels to come, right?
I don't know yet,
Okay.
but of course I hope so.
Right.
I would love to do the next ones, and I think it can only get better.
Yeah. So with
Um,
with this involvement, are you interested in reading the book that you designed the cover for?
they sent me a copy. I think it's not completely finished.
Right.
I
Wow.
put shame on myself. I haven't read
Yeah.
it.
Every
I,
Dragonlance fan around the world is
I,
screaming right now. You
no,
have the
but
book and
I
you haven't
didn't
read.
have a lot of time. I'm not really a big reader. I
Hmm.
don't know. I like to read stories, and I read some fantasy sagas, other Aragon and other stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm always painting and busy and I love playing games and watching films and studying other artists and but I'm interested. I will read it for sure.
Yeah.
And I
It'd
don't
be.
know if I would do it that much different if I knew the whole story,
Hmm.
because it was never about illustrating something from the book. It
Right.
was more, I think the authors are more focused on like showing the characters, how they look, how they dressed, and yeah, their style. And it's not about action or something.
Yeah, or depicting a specific scene in the book or anything
Yeah,
like that.
these three characters don't even like are together like this. They
Yeah.
just, I mean, it's like a family or school group photo of
Yeah.
a bit like. I wish to do more. I would have loved to more dynamic poses and a bit of action, but yeah, they're not into it.
What would be really interesting is if they end up releasing some source books for games, and then you could, if they reached out to you, then you could do more
Hmm.
dynamic images and stuff because, then you're going to need like action poses and, battle scenes and stuff like that. That'd be really kind of
Yeah,
interesting. But yeah, it is very static whenever we're talking Dragonlance covers. It's like, no, we just need to
yeah,
show this hero pose of these heroes and move on. And
yeah.
it's another thing I'm always interested in because as a consumer looking at a novel cover, you're thinking, "Oh, this must be a moment in the book." But that's never really the case. And even the style
Hmm.
and like, the locations of different elements in the photo sometimes don't correspond with the city or the location that it's being set up. It's just meant to give the tone and the what's the word I'm looking for?
Yeah.
The spirit of the book
Hmm.
rather than some sort of literal moment within. Canadian Fantasy Corner is asking, what's your favorite artwork that you've produced thus far?
Hmm.
Do you have a favorite?
My favorite artwork. I think this last one is on top among others. I have some favorites of mine. It's also like the Golden Dragon I did recently, but sometimes I really love some of the quick work. I do a lot of speed painting, so many in my portfolio are really quick work, a couple
Hmm.
hours only.
Yeah.
Most because it's kind of practice for me, and doing quick work is working really well for me. But also some of the longer work I did recently, some mountain landscapes. But I don't really have one favorite, as
Yeah.
I don't have one favorite artist, or
Right.
I love them all.
Well, I highly recommend anyone who's interested in artwork, the process of creating art, to look at Philip's
Hmm.
YouTube channel and his different social media sites because watching how you almost get a sense of how your brain works when you're watching the process from start to finish, where your focus is being drawn, what you want to get down first, and when you want to make corrections to something. It's really really fascinating to watch. And I, coming from an art background, I think there's nothing more interesting than watching an artist work. It's just something that kind of
Yeah, I agree. I
dig.
agree. Uh, and also, I have to mention I stream on Twitch.
Hmm, okay.
Uh, Usually weekends, sometime in the evening. Uh, so I do live streams, but I never really talk. So it's just paint and
Yeah.
focus on painting, and I have some playlist, some music maybe, and only really one or two streams where I was talking about what I do or explaining random things.
Right.
And I agree, it's fascinating. I also love watching other artists, and yeah, the process of creation. And most of these works are done like on the go, like go with the flow, and
Yeah.
react to things and change things. And I'm, I'm not really always like really sketching out something and getting first the composition right. I just sometimes I just enjoy the freedom of painting, and
That's
it's
great.
always fascinating maybe to see how it evolves. So
Yeah. Well, let me. You've been so generous with your time. I don't want to take up your entire evening. Again,
yeah, no problem.
you're nearly on the other side of the world than I am, and so
Yeah,
there is a time difference, which is why we're doing it this time here.
no,
But
it's 4 o'clock, so it's and weekend.
yeah,
I
not
have
bad.
time.
I do want to ask you, just as from an artistic standpoint, what do you struggle most with? A lot of artists say maybe it's concepting, maybe it's posing, uh, designing. What is it with you? Is part of the process that really frustrates you, or is a challenge for you in some way?
Mm, everything.
The whole
There's
process.
yeah, there's so much to learn and to
Hmm.
do, like what's involved, as you said, like the design and the detailing and the color and everything. Like, and if you start like going into dragon and figures, and it's a whole new thing, and landscape is one for itself, and it's for me. Just try to do a lot of quick work to get this kind of doing more. It's more like quantity than quality.
Right.
But I think I often struggle when I do like more serious work and as a commission, and then I always want to do something really good, and kind of gets, you know, opposed to where I go just in and do something and paint a nice landscape,
Hmm.
where these often turn out so good. Or I learned something, or this part was this turned out really well, and then kind of reflecting on that, and then why and how it came to be, and just sometimes just let go, of all the pressure, and that's what I also tried here with this new, where I was nervous all the time, like uh, I think the most I struggle still is for myself with colors. I don't know why.
Yeah, I can't
Because,
see that. Yeah, I think you're
I
doing
mean, and
great.
colors is such a big subject, and
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I think I have a good eye for color and composition and design. For me, it's just I want to go farther, and but anyway, if you as an artist, you look at the painting for so many hours, and then you sometimes lose
Hmm.
sight of what's really important.
Yep.
I think that's where always struggle comes from, and I also have to mention I painted like 3 landscapes in the back, different ones in the middle,
Oh, really?
where I was like, this is not working. I don't like it, and then I tried other things, and then it was really, and then I came back to this I had, and tried to, was like really putting myself focus on making it better. So or what's not good, what I don't like. It's always this. I think I thought about the painting and what I want to do more than I did work on it. It's like
Yeah.
sometimes, yeah, it just happens to be more
I think.
uh, intense work with thinking, and what do I want to change to make it better, or
Hmm. Yeah. Goldmoon is asking, when you were doing research for this and examining some past covers, were there was there any that struck you as being, really, to your eye? Like, did you really love one cover over another?
I really like the ones I think Matt Stavik did,
Yeah, Matt Stogie.
and I also
He did a
discovered like
ton.
the Larry Elmore.
Yeah.
I don't know if he did covers for Dragonlance,
Oh,
and
yeah.
there's a couple that really stood out to me. I think it's from Matt
Okay.
once, and I'm really impressed by his color work
Yeah, he's the most
and
recent artist to
his
do
his
covers.
style.
Yeah.
And for me, it was only a bit intimidating. Like, and I didn't want to really like look too much at it, and get distracted by like I have to live up to this kind of style or quality
Right.
work he does. And I mean, this was always kind of in the back of my head. Do I really step up to this, and can I do it? And so a lot of emotional things that were involved.
Yeah, I think it's certainly normal for anyone to have anxiety or stress about trying something new. I think, and this is just anecdotal, but I think artists suffer from that so much more. There's always this sense of inferiority, or I'm just not good enough, or I'm going to be compared to everyone else out there that's ever worked on Dragonlance, and so that can just sort of compound stress on you. But
Mm-hmm.
ultimately, I think with any work as a creative individual, you need to just sort of put it out there and let the masses decide. And just speaking for myself and certainly the people in chat, you're a fantastic artist. There's no reason to worry about anything, because you're certainly knocking it out of park with this particular cover. And I personally look forward to seeing your work on the other covers as well, because again, it is a different stylistic approach, but it is a traditional high fantasy feel. And I think that is really, really great.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, of
That
course.
means a lot to me.
Well, I think this is probably the best place to close down our conversation. Do you want to let the people know where they can find your work, or your different projects online?
Yeah, I'm on ArtStation. So my personal website, urlich.art, is just kind of indirect showing the ArtStation portfolio. So it's one in one, like the same thing, but it's more like a personal website domain.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where I put all my work I'm happy with to put in my portfolio. But I'm also active on Twitter on at SomeArtist. You linked in the description, and also streaming on Twitch occasionally. And I have Instagram, which I'm not that much active.
Mm-hmm.
Also on DeviantArt, but I think Twitter and ArtStation. Also my YouTube channel, but it's not. I upload, as you've seen, these are exports from live Twitch streams. So
Okay.
there's some are like 4, 5, 6, 7 hours long and
Yeah.
in real time. And I've recently bought an iPad, and also wanted to do more recordings where I make like time lapses of them. So they are short, like 5 or 10 minutes.
Oh, very cool.
So, and yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you once again. I encourage everyone to go look at Philipp's artwork, because it is genuinely good. And again, this may be the future of Dragonlance art right here, which would be pretty exciting. Hopefully, fingers crossed. I'd like to once again invite everyone listening to this to consider becoming a member if you're not already a member of this YouTube channel, and remind you that you can always pick up Dragonlance gaming materials using my affiliate link. This channel is all about celebrating the wonderful world of the Dragonlance Saga, and I hope you'll join me in the celebration. Thank you for watching. This has been Adam and Philip with Dragonlance Saga today, and until next time, Slan Javar.
Bye bye.